Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted to show you my 1985 Pontiac 6000 Wagon with its newly completed 3800 Supercharged Series 2 V6 engine swap.
How neat is that?
So now, as some of you know, I've been working on this for almost a year now. I picked this car up February 12th of 2023. Towed it home, had a hole in the carbureted 2.8 that was in it.
That's pretty neat.
And I had the intention of the 3800 swap. So we made a few videos on this. We had the one where we took it apart. We had the one where we fixed up the subframe. We had the video where we went through the 3800 and I wasn't sure if it was going to be any good or not. I think the last big video on this car was making the coilovers for it, and that was when I had pushed it outside of the shop and it was in roller form. Well, I had footage from putting the engine, subframe, all that stuff into the car. My laptop decided to die. I have tried, using the hard drive in other computers and it just has not worked. Let that be a lesson to not delete the files off of the memory card until the video is edited and out. So anyway, after that, got frustrated, towed the car to work, and been working on it there on and off. Obviously, I've got it running now. I drove it home yesterday. It's 11 miles. Drove home great. Maybe still got a few little things to finish on it. Mainly the speedometer doesn't work. It's got a little bit of an oil leak. I'm pretty sure it's from the intake manifold gaskets. I don't know if I got the wrong ones or didn't seal the bolts right. I don't know, I gotta go through that. Speedometer, oil leak, radiator. The radiator has a little leak on the right upper corner of it, which you'll have that on a car this old. But overall, it's something I can get in now. I can hit the key, I can drive it. And that's awesome, because now I have 3 of those. I have the red Fiero, the blue Fiero, and now this. So, let's pop the hood and take a look under there. How about that? So, here you go. This is what the engine looks like installed. As you can see here, I use the Pontiac 6000 dog bone mount with the 3800 upper dog bone mount. There's another one here on the W bodies and whatnot this engine comes in. Didn't use that. Coils are in the stock location. I mean, we've got the power steering hooked up. The only thing I haven't hooked up yet is the air conditioning. Not terribly worried about that. Intake tube works great. I mean, overall, this fits in the engine bay really, really well. There's a video back there of us mounting this engine on the cradle. You can see how I did the mounts there. As far as axles, the driver's side Pontiac 6000 axle worked perfectly fine in this. This car's got 27 spline axles, and the inner went right into the trans. For the passenger side, completely different length with the 4T65E trans that came with this engine versus the 4-speed that was in the car. So I ended up using another left axle for the 6000, and I just swapped the inner cup that goes into the trans onto that axle, and that worked out good. Took 4 different axles to figure that one out. The other thing I get asked a lot is wiring. So this is very similar to a Fiero. There's this connector right here that a lot of your powers for the inside of the car go in there. The check engine light wiring is there. Cooling fan, a tachometer, which this car doesn't have, but it's there if I needed to hook it up. A couple other little things. And then there's another connector down by the computer that you can tap in for switched ignition power for the ECU, fuel pump relay, I think some other AC stuff. I mean, and yeah, I think that's it. Maybe a speed sensor too. I don't know, there's maybe 10 wires you have to splice into the factory 6000 harness. It's just like doing a swap on a Fiero. At some point I am going to sit down and kind of write out a schematic of what I did, because it'd be nice to have. Other things on this, other things. Pretty much have gone through everything. The suspension on the car is new, the brakes are new. The engine, I bought those aftermarket headers. They did not work. They were not gonna work on this engine in this car. This is a pretty tight engine bay, and they just weren't gonna work. So I ended up spending another $160. You can see here, factory exhaust manifolds. It dumps out behind the engine in the factory location. So those worked out perfect. The exhaust runs pretty much stock location. I think I have a video of it, which I can put in here. We're running a cherry bomb that I got for free, where the catalytic converter would be, is. And then we're running a cheap eBay performance muffler where the stock muffler is. If you ask me, it's still a little too loud, but it sounds pretty good and it looks good. So I really wanted this to look like it belonged in the car. I think we've done a pretty good job at it. It's super clean. The coilovers are starting to settle in the front. You can see how low the front sits. Amazingly, this thing still rides like it's on a cloud. And there you can see the exhaust. I wanted it to look like the factory exhaust tip coming out of it. And, you know, from the back, if you're following, you can see the exhaust tip over on this side, but you can't see any of the rest of the exhaust. It's all tucked up in there great. I think it sits a little high in the rear end. Gonna have to adjust those springs a little bit. Those were factory replacement springs, so they might settle out some. I don't think they're going to settle out enough for what I was going for. The coilovers in the front are adjusted all the way down. It's a pretty good stance, just a little too high in the rear. But yeah, I'm really very happy with this. So this car was carbureted, so there was not wiring to the fuel pump for a relay for a fuel pump because it didn't have a electric fuel pump in the tank, which obviously I got a tank for a fuel injected car, put the pump and all the sending unit for that in there. But however, the wiring was in the car up to the dash behind the driver's side. I just had to wire from that over to the passenger side where the relay now is. I had to wire in OBD2 connector that's over there. You know, there's just, like I said, a handful of wiring. So OBD2 port is right there. The ECU for the 3800 is kind of tucked up in the dash under the passenger side. I'd have to dig to get it out for you. Fuel pump relay is up in there as well. So you just basically drop the plastic panel. That's all accessible in there. In the cars these engines came out of, it was in the airbox in the engine bay. I didn't want it in the engine bay. Trying to keep this somewhat clean looking. So in the car it went. Coolant hoses. That was, I think, an upper hose for a Grand Prix, or maybe a 6000, not 100% sure on which, and I just had to trim it to make it work. Lower hose, I found two pieces that fit, made a tube in the middle so they connect. Added the header wrap to keep the temperatures down in the engine bay, plus I think it adds to the overall look. We have the AN fuel lines down to the steel lines that come up from the tank. Overall, you know, I think this looks really good. Got the wiring all loomed nicely. It's black, goes good with the black of the Supercharger. So, very happy with how it looks. Leaking. Alright, so I actually found my sheet that has the prices on it of what I have in this car. The total is $3,895. Not too bad for everything to put it back on the road, I suppose. That includes the price of the car. So I paid $400 for the car. The engine, transmission, wiring harness, computer, I paid $550 for. Those eBay aftermarket headers I ended up not using were $160. The factory headers that I got on eBay were $160. I think I included the heat wrap that I ordered also in that, and the flange gasket and the exhaust manifold gaskets. The intake tube and filter, that was $40. All the fittings and stuff for the fuel lines were $40. That engine mount that I had to do for the engine side, not the transmission side, that was $35. I had $90 in spark plugs and wires. The coilover springs I had $70 into. The front panel and grill, like the panel behind the grill and the grill itself, I had to replace both of those. It was a used grill. It was a brand new old stock panel. I paid $240 altogether for that because that was all smashed in when I got the car. And then the remaining $1,990 was all the Rock Auto orders for brake parts, suspension parts, engine parts, gaskets, fuel tank, and delivery unit, rear brakes, rear springs, rear shocks, wiper blades. I mean, pretty much everything to rebuild this car. Now we still have a radiator to do. We got to fix the oil leak. We need to do something else. I forgot what it was. Oh, oil dipstick tube, oil dipstick. So I'll have to get those too. None of that stuff should be too bad. Another couple $100 maybe. So we'll probably be 4,100 all in by the time we're done with everything. But technically, right now, I can hop in this thing, hit the key, take it for a drive. So 3,800 bucks for that. Can't complain. I mean, look at it. So the plan for the car, obviously, is to drive it. We'll get the couple things finished up with the engine swap. That'll be good. As far as the body, tempted to fix the hole in the driver's door down there, but I kind of want to keep the rust. There's a few places that make like a wipe-on clear coat, because I kind of would like to protect some of this stuff, how it looks, but make it a little shinier. So might try one of those products out on it. I want to get some stickier tires for it, and really I just want to take it out and enjoy it. Should be able to surprise some people with it, because it is a bit quicker than even I thought it was going to be. Wouldn't mind some little bit wider wheels. I want to stick with the hubcaps though, so I could run a little bit wider, stickier tire. And the interior, I'd like to go through and fix up the interior. You can see here, driver's door panels kind of coming apart. Seats are getting worn. Mostly the front ones. I think the back ones are good. Headliner is held up with push pins. The carpets could use some cleaning in the back. So back here, you can see all this stuff here is sun bleached pretty good. I want to figure out a way to restore all that. Wouldn't mind finding the flip-up seat for back here. This does not have it. Guess I don't need those V-belts anymore for this thing, since it doesn't have that engine. Yeah, I would love to find the... I'd love to find the flip-up seat that goes here. So, you know, it's like the Furo projects. They're never completely done. Might see if I can figure out a way to fix those. This one and the driver's side one are falling off. You can see this side's got some surface rust, but no holes. I think this is the only other hole, actually, right there. Maybe we'll fix those at some point. But really, it's just fix it up a little bit more on the interior and just drive it and enjoy it. Maybe this summer, get the AC to work. Could get a digital gauge cluster for it, wire that in. Those had a tachometer, oil pressure gauge, temp gauge, all that good stuff that would be nice to have that this doesn't have, because it's just a basic instrument cluster. But for now, I think I'm done putting money into this. Just gonna get it legal, drive it a little bit. I think right now, maybe we should go drive it. Oh, okay. Let's see. Gotta get the speedometer app, because we don't have one. Buckle up for safety. We can head on out. So as you see, I guess it's not too loud in here, but it shifts and drives down the road here pretty good. The real trick is going to be getting my phone to stay perched up there. You also see the speedometer is not working. goes out pretty good. No idea where the phone went, but you'll have that sometimes. But yeah, I mean, this cruises right down the road, shifts just fine. Can't be mad at that. That was a burnout. It even has good heat. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching this video. That is the complete wagon. I say complete loosely because there's always something to do. So now I have 3 functioning cars from the 80s. Here's our next project. I want to get the engine swapped off of here, clean the cradle up, mounts, all that stuff, get that ready to go, fix the rust, put that back together, and then we're on to that. But, you know, we got more stuff to do on this. We got more stuff to do on that. And probably that too. But yeah, so if you want to see all that stuff, then make sure you subscribe. Go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment. It all helps out. And I'll see you guys here pretty soon. Thanks. Alright, so we got the mount, and all it's going to require to install this is get it down there where it goes, drill a couple holes through the subframe for these bolts, a couple holes through the bracket on the engine for those bolts, then we can bolt that in place. Got new belts. We also have new half shafts, so we have 2 half shafts for the engine for 3800, 97, 98 Grand Prix, and then we have 2 half shafts for the 85 Pontiac 6000, because we need the outer part that goes into the hub for the 6000. We need the inner part for the Grand Prix that goes into the trans. So hopefully between the 4 axles, we can make 2 good axles that'll work on this car. So I'm going to get this engine mount installed, mess around with axles, and then I'll be back with you.